Why does Marvel Rivals hate Storm? It's time we talk about it. Since the release of Rivals, it became apparent pretty early on that Storm's kit fell kinda short when compared to other duelists. For reasons we'll lay out in this video, she feels very mismatched, counterintuitive, and lacks a certain finesse and sense of enjoyment that other characters have. Locking in Storm in Season 8 yields an extremely underwhelming and frustrating experience as you struggle to deal damage and get targeted first every fight. In terms of lore, Storm is an Omega level mutant and one of the most powerful mutants in Marvel, yet she feels extremely weak in Rivals. Obviously, I understand that not every character can be stupidly overpowered, but it's plain to see how Storm has struggled season after season, yet the Rivals devs refuse to buff her base kit, and instead just temporarily paste over the problem with gimmicky team-ups. So let's go through all the ways that Storm has been mistreated in Marvel Rivals. For starters, she gets no cosmetics, which makes no sense to me because there's so much you could do with a literal goddess. She has a huge cape that opens up her cosmetic design to so many different themes, as well as so much source material to draw from across Marvel media. Her current skins really just don't hit the mark. She doesn't have any skins that make you go, wow, like some other characters do. She's one of the more popular names in Marvel, a name that most players would have heard of, yet she has no customization options. Some characters like Luna Snow already have double her skins. But let's move on to how she actually plays, which is the most important part. Why is Storm really bad? Well, Storm is basically just a big dangly moth flopping about in the sky. She's usually the first target that enemies see since she's got such a fat hitbox. But here's the kicker, she literally has the lowest health pool possible also with 250 health. Rivals did give her a buff in Season 6.5 that allows her to gain bonus health when she does damage in her Tornado weather form. She can get a max of 75 bonus health, which takes her to 325 health. In theory, this is a pretty good buff, but it only has a damage conversion of 25%, so it takes quite a few hits to fully stack the bonus health. But the main issue is you want to primarily be in your Thunder weather form as it gives you a damage boost. It feels like you're a pea shooter without it. And her Goddess boost ability is a lot more effective in her damage form if you want to have proper impact in a game. It gives you a 25% damage boost and your teammates a 15% damage boost. It also does some extra damage to enemies in its radius. But her Tornado form grants her and her allies a movement speed boost and slows enemies, which can be really useful in certain situations, but means she does considerably less damage. She really does feel so useless without the damage boost. But you have to be pretty close to enemies and close to the ground if you want to catch them in its aura, and you have to stay there as it only does tick damage every 2 seconds. As we said earlier, she has no health, so she can get punished so easily for playing so close to the enemies. But also, when you have her Thunder form active, you lose the bonus movement speed from her Tornado form, which makes her so incredibly slow. So you have no health and no movement speed to try and dodge enemy attacks. And the cherry on top of the poopy cake that is Storm is her ultimate charges insanely slow. But she does get a lot of ultimate charge by hitting enemies with her Goddess boost tick damage, again incentivizing her to play super risky. Due to the nature of flying characters, Storm is often hard to heal as strategists have to look up into the sky to find her, which isn't always practical and wastes time. So Storm has to stay close to the ground to actually get healed, and even then it's a struggle. Most strategists just pretend she doesn't exist, but it is true that if you're not playing Cloak and Dagger or putting a Lunar Snowflake on her, she's usually never going to receive constant healing, which really sucks. All in all, her kit just doesn't have a lot of synergy and it's not very intuitive, expecting a slow squishy character to stay in close range to achieve her full damage potential. And unfortunately, while the bonus health changes do sound nice, they just don't do a lot in practice. Now let's talk about her ultimate. On the surface, it's a pretty cool ultimate and does quite a bit of damage, but in practice, it's actually pretty weak, simply because it's so easily counterable. Enemies can split up instantly when they hear her loud ass ultimate voice line, ensuring that you can only ever get one pick at max. And when they aren't splitting up, strategists will just save their ultimate for Storm, making her extremely unfun to play. Baiting out strategist ultimates can be extremely useful, especially in higher elo matches where players can take advantage of this, but at a majority of skill levels you simply just give up your carry potential as no one takes advantage of the healer ultimates being down. Since her ultimate is very slow to charge, strategists are more likely to get their ultimates back before Storm, so you can rarely take advantage of it yourself. Why can't Storm headshot? She's literally one of the only ranged characters in the game who can't land headshots or critical strikes, so there's less skill expression with her primary fire, and by the way, the goddess of thunder has to reload her wind blades. If Namor doesn't have to reload his tridents, then why does Storm have to reload her pea shooter? Her autos can't headshot, they hit for a very small amount of damage when compared to other DPS in the game, and she has to reload a literal element that she's supposed to be the goddess of. But her autos do have a piercing effect, meaning it can hit multiple enemies stood behind one another, which is pretty cool and handy at choke points, but doesn't really make up for all the negative aspects. Her primary fire is also kinda hard to hit at long range when enemies are moving around, since the projectiles have a slower travel rate when compared to characters like Hela and Punisher. Storm often gets team-up abilities that make her relevant again, but they've been super overpowered. Think about Jeff Nado and her team-up with Human Torch. Both of those team-ups were super effective and stupidly broken. So guess what? Storm was banned for quite a while in most games. Not even because of her, but because of Jeff and Human Torch. So she was pretty unplayable in ranks for a while, since she was literally banned every game. But she's never that strong on her own merits, which kinda sucks. There are so many DPS characters who have been strong since the release of the game without needing any team-ups, like Hela, Punisher, and Namor, and Storm sadly has never been one of them. I feel that Rivals is using Storm as a gimmicky character to throw in whenever they feel like creating some weirdly broken ability to shock players. Her team-ups are used as a way to put her center stage for a few weeks and to gloss over the problems with her kit, only to throw her back in the trenches when players got annoyed with Jeff Nado. My suggestions for Storm at this point is a kit revamp. It feels so empty, like she's missing an ability. I think her auto attacks should travel faster, deal more damage, and spread to other enemies like Chain Lightning maybe, instead of piercing. I would love to see her throw an AoE spell that inflicts crowd control instead of having to activate her empowered movement speed stance to slow enemies. She could easily create a kind of rain cloud that deals a small amount of dot damage. Rivals needs to decide whether she is going to be a strategist or a duelist. Whenever they touch Storm in balance patches, it's usually to fiddle with the numbers on her ally damage boost and ally movement speed boost. We don't even want that. Either make her an all-powerful duelist on her own merits, or make her into a buffing strategist. She doesn't need to be a weird mix of the two just to end up doing neither very well. Storm needs to have more survivability that's actually easier to obtain rather than nerfing your own damage to heal 8 bonus health per auto attack. Whether this survivability takes form of a self-heal ability with her empowered weather form or simply some built-in lifesteal. She needs to not be entirely reliant on healers pocketing her as she is right now. Regarding her ultimate, once Storm ults in, she gets focused down quickly by the entire enemy team in coordinated play. It would be lovely to see Storm be able to teleport back to her original spot that she casted the ultimate from after it's finished, just so she isn't perma-dead every time she ults. As right now it feels like you're actually penalized for pressing your ult sometimes. And lastly, why is the Goddess of the Storm literally the slowest character in the game? Please give the Goddess an actual passive, maybe one that increases her movement speed while she flies. So to conclude, let's summarize all the ways that Storm has been mistreated in Rivals. Number 1. Lack of cosmetics despite her potential. Number 2. Never touched in patch notes. Number 3. Lack of fluidity in her kit. Number 4, no survivability and hard to heal. Number 5, easily counterable ultimate, and number 6, overpowered Teamups to gloss over all the problems. Storm needs a whole heap of changes and quality of life updates if she's actually going to keep up with the rest of the roster. As more heroes get released, the more she will fall behind as part of the original roster. More overpowered mechanics, more overloaded kits, and Storm is stuck with absolute dookie. Rivals will need to do something about her soon. It's so sad to see her constantly being swept under the rug every set of patch notes. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please drop a subscription if you want to catch my future videos, and let me know what you think about Storm. Do you think any other characters are in a similar position to her? I also stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/mattzeffy if you want to come and hang, but otherwise I'll see you guys soon.